Hey everyone, welcome to Nerding IO. I'm JD, and today what we're going to go through is a MCP n8n node that allows you to do model context protocol directly in n8n for different types of automation. All right, so I wrote this n8n nodes MCP client specifically because I needed to take MCP servers and pull them into n8n. So let's talk about specifically what MCP is. So MCP is Model Context Protocol, and basically what that is it's a protocol and a standard that allows you to interact with different servers and data sources and prompts and pull them into your AI application, whether that be an agent or some other AI model. The reason that this is super important is because it almost acts as like Lego blocks where you can take pieces or different servers and different tools, prompts, resources, pull them into your code and plug and play very quickly. Again, it's the standard that's really important. This was put together by Claude and Anthropic, but it is a open source standard. So what we're doing is we're taking these servers and we're actually going to put them into our client, which is n8n, and allow n8n through either the workflow or the AI agent itself to actually leverage whatever data we're getting. These connections can either be command line based, so standard in, standard out, and then server side events, which can be configured almost very similar to like an API. Again, it's a different standard though. So what we're going to do today is actually go through setting all this up. However, it's really important to know that there are a few operations that you can do. You can execute on tools, list prompts, read from those things, as well as execute the tool. So this would be actually running whatever that tool is. It could be a GitHub command or whatever. Then we're going to take that and process it in our AI. But first and foremost, one of the things that has been really important is in n8n specifically, since this is a community package, you actually have to allow community package for tool usage. If you want to use this in an AI agent and a tool, basically down here, then you need to actually run these environments before your deployment, not your MCP environments. This is your actual n8n deployment. So if I was to run this locally, what I would do is I would just copy the environment variables here. I can just pull up my terminal. I can just paste them in, and this is actually going to start my instance of n8n with the community tool enabled. So again, this is super important if you want to be able to use this as an AI agent tool. All right, let's dive into the rest of it. So the first thing that we're going to do is you need to go into your settings, and in order to get the community nodes, you have to install the community node from here. So in order to do that, you would just browse, and then you can look for MCP right here, and then you can just copy and paste this portion direct. The package name, you understand the risks, and you're going to go ahead and install. And once that's done, then you should be all set as far as the n8n, and you even have the version number to know that you're once this is in here, then we can actually go in and actually build out flow. So let's go ahead and get started doing that. So now I'm back here in my credentials, which is where we're going to start. So the way that these MCP servers work is you have to actually connect to them, and it's a little bit different in how we're between standard in, standard out, and server-side events. So we're just going to take a look at these types of examples. And the way that I built this was you just have your command, you have your arguments there. The way MCP works is you actually have these arguments are an array, so all you have to do is put in your command line, and it will actually separate based on space into that array. Same thing with environments. The reason that it's showing the value is you can actually type in, for instance, like Brave, PI key, and then whatever your values are, you can do that via comma, via space, or you can even do new line. All of that will work, and then it parses this on the back end. So the way it's looking for it, same, is it needs to actually break this this up into an array for, well, an array of objects actually, or just objects, so a record. And it will take the name and then the value. So we're going to go ahead and close without saving. For each server, you have to create your own credential. And then once you have those credentials, you can actually use them in multiple different ways. So we're going to go through and actually look at the command line first as a full workflow, and then we'll go through and we'll actually build out the server-side rendering, or server-side events. So if we go back over here to flow, we're actually going to look at our standard example. So what this is doing is we are going to look at our GitHub tools, and you can see that we have our credential here that we can pick from our list, or we can actually create a new credential. From our operations, we have all these different operations where we can do tools or prompts and resources, and we're going to go ahead and just test this event and see what actual tools we can get back from GitHub. So now you can see that the tools that are being sent back to the MCP client is an array of tools. It has our name, what the tool actually does, and then how the schema operates. So we can actually go through these and actually use them in the next execution. This is if we were just using a standard flow. We're going to actually go through an AI agent. So what this is doing is it's saying, based on those tools, I'm just going to grab the search repositories, and then I'm going to actually query that based on the tool parameters, which you could do technically dynamically, and then we're going to search for MCP. And now we have our result coming back where we have our text, our type is a text, our text object, or our text string is basically an object of different MCP repos that are actually out there on GitHub right now. So now let's go take a look at an example for an AI agent. So the way that the AI agent works is a little bit different. So we have our click-through, but we also have the ability to put in our prompt, and then we have the ability to actually set up tools. So you want to come in here and press tool, you can actually search for MCP. I'll give you the client. Again, you have to select your credential, and then you can either set the tool manually, or you can set the description. Then you have to pick your operations, right? So you can specifically say you want to list the tools, or you can execute, and you're just going to give the AI agent access to all the tools that you see available, and then it'll actually try and connect to it. So in this example, I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. We have our list tools, which is our GitHub connection. We have our list. We have another automatic tool. So this is, again, we set up Brave. Rather than actually setting the parameters, but we're going to actually let the AI model try and define this. So the way you can do that is if you had fixed, you could actually define what your parameters were, or we can come in here and we can click this, let the model define the parameter, and then it will automatically set what those things are, and then we can actually test. So right now what this prompt is going to say is go out and find local tools. We're actually going to switch this to search with Brave, and we'll still stick with model context protocol, and we're just going to go ahead and test the step. Sometimes this can error because it's looking for the OpenAI to come back with a valid JSON request. Cool. And so on this one, it definitely didn't fail. It came back with our output. It came back with the information that it went out and found. So it's pulling from the Anthropic, which is the company that released MCP. and basically giving us a bunch of article information that we can then pull back into our agent. And you can see this one failed. That's because we haven't connected this yet. But that's what we're going to go through next, is we're going to actually build a SSE connection point that is different than a command line point. And you can see that the GitHub list tools didn't execute, but it tried to execute on both of the Braves because specifically said here. You could also tell it to define the best tool and see what it comes back with. In this case, if we told it to say what the best tool is, it could search repos, it could search through Brave, and it would try to pull back those information from those tools. Let's go back and we'll go ahead and create a SSE example. And instead of going in here, we'll actually go to credentials. So create credential, and we're just going to type in MCP, and so now we can type in SSE. Continue. You can see that it defaults to this URL. So all you would need to do is change this URL, but I actually have an SSE running locally, which I'll show you how to do in an upcoming video. And we can actually see that in the MCP inspector. So if we come over here to an MCP inspector, I have this running locally. We're going to go ahead and connect. Real quick, everyone, if you haven't already, please remember to like and subscribe. It helps more than you know. Also, please go check out Text Yourself. It's a simple application that I built that helps keep me on track. All you have to do is SMS different tasks and reminders that you need to be sent back to yourself. With that, let's get back to it. All right, so we have our inspector up, and now we have our backend up. So if we go ahead and click connect, we've now connected. In our inspector, we can go ahead and list tools. We can actually see what these tools are. And this is representing an SSE. You can also do standard and standard out. And so I just wanted to show this, as we know that we have an active MCP locally, so we're going to go and take this and go back into n8n and actually add our endpoint. So this is mandatory. You have to have whatever your SSE is. Then you don't necessarily have to have a messages endpoint. Most of them are just going to end up being messages, which is default. And then you have the option to put in additional headers. And basically that goes like name and value. And the reason for this is, for instance, if you wanted to do streaming, you could actually do that with an additional header of a stream. So, but we're going to go ahead and just leave it like this. Go ahead and save. We're going to go back to our workflows now. We'll look at creating an SSE example. So we come in here and we say MCP client, and we want to list available tools. We're going to grab our SSE account. We'll go ahead and test this. We'll see that we're getting the exact same thing that we saw in Inspector. Now we can click, and we're going to go ahead and add another, and we're going to say execute. And in this instance, we will say search query MCP, and we'll say count, and just say 5 there, and then we will go ahead and execute our tool name, which is right here. You can actually just drag that if you want, and we'll go ahead and give this a test and see if that works. Cool. And so now we're actually getting our MCP Brave search back here in our node. So now if we actually save this, and then we'll go back to our overall agent, you can see that this is should be able to execute. We don't have our credential selected, so we're going to have to come up here, click MCP SSE account, go ahead and save that. And now if we try and search, we should be able to select both these. We're going to go ahead and delete this connection though, because I just want to see if this one will run. Cool. And now we already know that it's going back and pulling back that information. And we'll see what the output is. Cool. And now that that is complete, we know that it worked. And just for fun, let's do another tool here. Okay, so we've now got all connected, and let's just try search for information on protocols, repos. We'll just try that and see if we pull back both GitHub and some Brave information. So it's going back and just pulling from this tool this time. So it probably thought that this was the best one to select from. But also we have a success. So again, what we went through is you have the ability to add MCP directly to your agents. You also have the ability to put them into single threads if you want. So for instance, if you wanted to go out and call something and then put it back into an AI agent outside of just the cool tool calling functionality. All right, everyone, that's it for us today. What we went through was a custom node that I built, specifically in n8n, that allows you to connect to the Model Context Protocol. And with that, happy nerding.